Hello and welcome to Film Companion South. In this episode of FC Recco, we're going to be talking about a film that's out on streaming. Now, let me tell you how I choose films for this series. Some of the films are older films. I sometimes do them like flashback episodes, which are much longer. But some of them are out on streaming, and you may have missed them in theaters because they had a short theatrical run. And I choose them because I want you to check them out. Now, I'm going to be talking about this movie called Vanjagar Ulagam by Manoj Beedha. Is it a great film? No. But there are so many interesting things in it, and there is a very distinct voice, a voice that belongs to the writer-director. And according to me, a very distinct voice is one of the most important things that you can find in cinema. Now, Vanjagar Ulagam begins like a whodunit. A woman named Maithili, played by Chandini Tamilarasan, is found strangled. After this, we get a name called Doreraj. Now, this Doreraj name hangs over this film throughout, the way the name Kaiser Soze hung over the usual suspects. Now, Doreraj is a gangster. He turns out to be linked to Maithili's murder, and there is a journalist named Vishakan, played by Vishakan Vanangamudi, who is on his trail. So Vanjagar Ulagam keeps cutting between these two tracks. On the one hand, you have the track following Maithili and her murder and who is the killer and so forth. On the other hand, you have Vishakan tracking down Doreraj. But it's not the usual kind of editing where you see some 5 minutes of this Maithili portion and 5 minutes of the Doreraj portion and then 5 minutes of the Maithili portion again and then 5 minutes of the Doreraj portion again. Anthony is the editor and he does a fantastic job along with the writing, of course, and we cut not just to these two events but also to parallel events taking place that happened between people who are tangentially connected to these events. Now, it took me a little time to settle into this rhythm, but it's wonderful once you get into it because it gives a great sense of the interconnectedness of things. The writer-director, in a way, desensationalizes the thriller. So instead of the nail-biting stuff, you get a series of mundane repetitions. For example, a guy keeps getting asked to keep buttoning up his shirt, or this guy insists that his name is actually something else. Major motivations like why Vishakan is after Doreraj are tossed off in very simple lines. For instance, it has to do with drugs, and usually it means that we will get scenes with dealers. But here we also get a very funny line with the women who prepared those drugs, and they complain that how can they work when there's all the shooting and killing that's going around them. So instead of the ever sharpening focus of a crime drama, we get the sprawl of an existential epic. The title mentions a credit for somebody called a script consultant, and I think that's a really good thing. Now, taken on its own, Sam Sears's music is wonderfully stylized, but I really wondered if it had to be that stylized because there's already a lot of stylization that's happening in a narrative. Did we really need music that says look at me as well? Which is why the understated cinematography is such a relief, because it's filled with wide shots and it's filled with natural light from open doors and windows. The bright and sunny outdoors contrast vividly with the murky happenings indoors, and there are great scenes like the one set in a theater playing Dina that are absolutely marvelous. Now, despite all this, like I said, and this is what prevents Vanjagar Ulagam from becoming a truly great movie, the second half becomes increasingly linear and the plot becomes more predictable. The big reveal at the end is underwhelming. I saw it coming very early on. And then there's the acting. Jayaprakash Radhakrishnan gives one of the most convincing portrayals of grief on screen. Chandini Tamilarasan does wonderfully in a mostly non-speaking part, and Aragam Perumal as a retired cop doesn't put a foot wrong. But a lot of the others are amateurs, and their lack of experience clashes with the sophistication the film is aiming for. It's also not very clear how Vishakan practically seems to be part of the police force. But Guru Somasundaram compensates. He gives a wily, very, very entertaining performance as a man, a criminal who we are never really quite sure of. Streaming services are a great place to catch such films where the sum of the parts is greater than the whole, and I would recommend that you watch Vanjagar Ulagam. It's out on Netflix with subtitles. So watch it and let us know what you think in the comment section, and until the next FC Recco, keep watching Film Companion South.